And welcome back, everybody. After 2 weeks of taking it easy, because Hota decided to take a vacation,
A
you know,
little hiatus.
hiatus. Yeah. But anyway, we're back. Hota, George, and me, Sergio. And we got some fishing reports, and hopefully we'll get some input from some of you guys and ladies that are watching us and see what's going on. But George, what's going on with these tides, man?
Well,
It's not matching what the tide
no,
tables say.
no,
You and I were talking about this the other day.
yeah, it's getting better now, but I tell you what, for 3 days in a row, um, on Friday was probably the worst that I had seen. Thursday and Friday was brutally bad. They said the negative tide was supposed to be the one day 0.72. I checked on my phone. I checked on my Lowrance. I checked on the computer. All of them were 0.72 to 0.75. When I was at the boat ramp, I had to power the boat off the trailer because it would not float off the trailer.
You sure that are you sure that maybe you put too much? You didn't put too much air in the tires in your trailer?
Yeah, right. That's funny. Um, but it was. I almost thought, did they miss a negative sign? Because it literally looked like it was a negative 1 foot tide. You
Wow.
know, when you looked at the seawall, all the oysters and barnacles were out of the water by a mile. I mean, it was like that bad. And
Usually that doesn't happen. They're pretty good.
yeah, and it was really, really bad. Now it's getting more in line, but um, all of them are wrong. The one site that I have been using for a lot of years has been wrong for a few months now, so I had to get away from that one. Now it seems like it's coming back, but those 3 or 4 days, every didn't matter what app you went to, they were all wrong. So I
Huh.
don't know. It's weird. I tried because I started investigating it. I even went. I used the date, but I went back a month to see if maybe they were off by a month, like if there was some kind of glitch,
Huh?
and it almost seemed like it because it matched more to what we were seeing. But now, like today, was pretty close. What I didn't understand though was the tide charts were saying the one day, the first day, it was saying a positive 0.42, and it was more like a negative zero point 0.8 or zero point 0.9. It was really bad. But when I went to the observations by NOAA, they were saying positive zero point 0.4 at low tide, and there was no way. I mean, everybody was complaining about it.
You saw that moon, man. We got a strong moon.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know what was going on, but even the observation towers were saying the wrong tide, like what they observed. Sorry about that, guys. It's been a long month and a half.
Well, eh, eh,
So
everybody
hopefully
I
now,
talk to, that they're talking about, how bad the tides have been,
yeah,
and
you got to
actually,
switch.
the bite, it hasn't been really good. It's been okay,
You've
but I
had the
talked to a
worst.
lot of captains that are telling me that Sergio there. In fact, I was talking to one yesterday, and he said he must have used 300 baits to get three snook to bite because he
Yeah,
said he couldn't get them to bite.
yeah. Well, and like what I did a couple of those days, I split the trip up. So what I've been doing is going out to the deeper water, hitting rock piles, and doing a little bit different type of fishing, and then saving a couple hours to hit the flats when the tide is at its peak movement, and we'll pick off maybe 4 or 5 snook, maybe a red here and there, and that's been working. This way, I give them action, and then they still get the game fish at the end. When the tide is higher.
What about the mackerel? It's cold weather
Um,
got them
I,
out again.
I got bit off today by a mackerel on the jig, and we were just at the drop off of the flat where maybe it was about 6 feet, 7 feet deep,
Uh huh.
and we uh, 2 days ago we caught a nice mackerel there. So I'm sure like the humps, excuse me, I'm sure like the humps probably have mackerel on them right now because they were there, and
But
the
the water
water temp
temperature, man, it was 50 degrees up here at my house this morning.
right, but the water temperature is still 77, 78.
Is it?
So yeah, so it's still fine. It didn't drop to because we had 2.5 days of that cold, And I'll tell you, Sunday morning was really cold. Sunday morning was brutal, but um, I was still getting 75 that day on the water temperature. So, but I was in deeper water. I'm sure if you went on the flats where it was only a foot and a half, 2 foot deep, you're
Right.
going to see some cold temperatures in the morning. But I don't think it affected the mackerel. I think they're still there. I haven't fished for them in probably about a week, like I said. But we've got a couple not even trying. I think me and you are in a yawning contest.
Well,
We're
man,
going
well,
back
you
and
got
forth.
me yawning because I watch you yawn, then you make me yawn. And
That's
Hota's going
funny,
to start yawning pretty
right?
soon,
That's
too.
funny.
Yeah.
I don't know why that does that. That's a
It's a
cool
reaction.
thing.
Yeah, I was talking to some captains this week, and they were all over the place. And they said, Sergio, it was like, you go to an area and you got one fish, and that was
Yeah,
it. You had to move
yeah.
somewhere else. You got another fish there.
Uh-oh,
You know,
there I am.
so I don't know.
Yeah. Um, you're definitely not pulling up and catching 20 snook in one spot like we used to.
No.
You gotta move around a little bit. Um, I'd say the main thing where you could pull up on and catch 20 fish is trout right now. Trout is definitely one of the fish. If you get an area, now you got me.
No.
Yeah, you
You
just yawned.
started the
I
whole
wasn't
thing.
yawning,
Not me.
but
Don't blame me. You started it.
I stopped. Now you did it.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah, but trout right now, that's one of the ones that if you find a nice little spot where it's holding them, you can put 20 of those to the boat. They're holding good. Today, our biggest trout was 18 and a half inches. Caught a lot that were 14 and 7/8. But different areas, it depends on where you go. Some of the areas you'll hit it, and um, there's no undersized ones, and then other areas it's just loaded with undersized ones. But it's good action. You're doing it again.
No, because you're
You're
doing
doing it again.
it. See, Hota, he's trying to get
I'm
me
not.
in
Oh,
trouble because he's yawning, making me yawn. Then he
I'm
says
not
I'm making
yawning
him
right
yawn.
now. You're trying to get me back.
You know.
But
Let's
the
see, Donald's on there. He says, well, he's
uh,
working himself back, and uh, he was over at the CCA banquet here in Tampa a couple of weeks ago. I bumped into him there, and
yeah,
that man, I tell you what, I spent some money, and I forgot what I won. I didn't win much of anything. I think I won some little nothing for $100 worth of tickets.
right.
Actually, more than that, because I think Ron and I together we bought quite a few, maybe more than we should have bought. Yeah,
What'd you buy?
I bought. I don't know. I think we bought $500 worth of tickets, or $300. I'm not sure. You know,
And where was this at though?
at the CCA banquet
Oh yeah,
2 weeks
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
So Donald says, well, let me say hello to everybody because I see Alejandro, Donald,
Yeah, I don't see them.
I see Jim Pace, Linda Burke, Ken Burke.
I don't know why I don't have them
It
on
goes,
here.
and then one week you'll see him and I don't see him.
Yeah, see, I don't see them at all on
Now,
my.
Donald's basically complaining about the wind, and yeah, Donald, the wind has been terrible lately. And then he also says he got an 18.5-inch trout
There we go.
by Gandy. And then he says, I think the Earth slipped closer to the sun, and the scientists won't say a word about it. It would cause a worldwide panic. Now, all I want to know is, where'd you hear that little thing about the Earth slipping closer to the sun? Because I'll tell you what, the tides have been funky, so that would definitely more gravitational pull. But Manuel 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 is on, Junior.
It's yeah, he said that I think the Earth slipped closer to the sun.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about that.
no, I haven't heard that. Where'd you get that info
Donald,
from?
you better put a canopy on top of that kayak. I think the sun's affecting your brains.
That's funny. That's funny.
Jim Pay says he took the kids out and got some trout, and yeah.
Donald said it's just my scientific opinion.
But
What are you basing it on?
Yeah, what are you basing it on?
uh,
Was it just a moment that you had nothing else to think about? And you said, it looks like the sun's closer today.
right here, wait. I got another one for you. If you want to go, we're going to do scientific advancements there. Let's go with this one. How about it's from those 7 planets lining up together on one side of the Earth? It's changing the gravitational pull on the tides.
There you go.
How about that one, huh?
How about that one, Donald? Huh?
I'll see your sun and raise you 7 planets.
Or too many boats on the water and the water level has gone up and we're closer to the sun.
Uh,
Huh?
or how about this one? Since our tides were way lower than they're supposed to be, too much boat weight has pushed the water out of the bay.
There you go.
That's
See,
what it's gotta
Donald,
be.
we all have our opinions. So maybe between the sun getting closer to the earth and us putting too much weight on the water, we're having that kind of an effect.
That's
No.
funny. That's funny.
Oh. No, and I
But
talked to Frankie Gonzalez the other day, and he went all over. He says South Bay, the south end of the bay,
right.
looking for fish, and he said he struggled. It wasn't an easy bite.
Oh yeah. It's been it's really changed over the last 3 weeks. Because 3 weeks ago, the bite was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal. Like, what did you want to catch? We'll go get it. It was like that. Now you got to work or change what you're fishing for.
Do you think it's just, and I keep thinking in my mind that it's all these changes that we're having. You know, before we used to get a cold weather and it stayed with us for a while. And you might have a day or two that it warmed up, but it was cold. I mean, and now it's like you get 2 or 3 cold nights, and then you start getting back into the 80s and 90s for
Right.
4 or 5 days.
Well,
Then it gets back down. And
yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason.
And then the other thing, I mean, we've seen that before in the past, but how about a cold front like we just had in April? That was pretty cold morning. Sunday morning was really cold for April. And then what's even weird about that is then you back up a few days and we broke a record
For the heat.
for the heat. We broke a record that was like 100 years old, and we beat it by not a degree or two, by 4 degrees. We hit 94.
And this is what I'm saying, that it's such a drastic up and down that I think
Right.
the fish are confused, that they don't know what's going on. And that's got to affect the bite.
Sure. And then on top of that, we're in April. The flats should be loaded with bait right now, and it's not.
Well,
I mean,
you
you
know,
might have
it's just cold weather. You got
right.
hot, you got cold.
You might have some flats that are holding bait right now, and maybe some good spots or whatever. And I mean, I hit bait good one day on the flat pretty quickly, and then today my deep water spot kind of dried up yesterday. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the flats again, and I got bait, but it was not easy, and there was so many pinfish. But what made me mad was 2 days ago in 12 feet of water, my bait spot, the bait just really wasn't showing up. I was getting some, but you know, 10 or 15 at a time. It wasn't like it was. So I was getting ready to leave, and then probably 200 feet away, I spotted a spark on top of the water. So I kept watching that area, and then I seen another spark, and I was like, all right, I'm going over there. And that was about 13 feet of water. But when I got over there with the trolling motor, because I went with the motor, shut it off, and my trolling motor to not spook them, my fish finder lit up. There was a big ball of bait. So I took a whole bunch of chum, like, I don't know, 2 quarts, and I just dumped it right in the water because I was running out of time for my pickup for my charter. And they all came to that chum. I couldn't see them, but I could see them on the bottom finder. All of a sudden, this ball was behind the boat. I threw the net, and I loaded up in one throw. So I was like, all right, tomorrow morning, I'm just going to go straight to that area and just putt around till I find a ball of bait, and I'll do the same thing. I putted around for 30 minutes or better. There was no balls of bait. They left. So I had to go back to the flat. And that morning I got lucky. I got to the flat and I was there late. It was probably about 8:30. Sun's wide up, you know. So I just trolling motored until I spotted some bait, anchored down chum. Nothing came to the chum. So I trolling motored another 300 feet and I found more anchored down. Those ones my chum. They came and I caught about 2 throws. I caught probably 150, I'd say, and I was good. I only had 2 people for the trip, so that was enough bait. So it's just been having to move around to find it.
Well, how was the quality of the water? Was it clear or still murky?
No, it was worse today because we had pretty good winds over the weekend. So it's got murked up again, unfortunately. And that's another thing. We never had a really clear water, wintertime water like
Oh,
we
we did
normally
not
do.
this year.
It did not never happen.
I saw one day or two that it looked like it was getting ready to get really clean, and
Yep.
then
And
boom,
then,
it got, you know, it,
yep.
I think we just had so much wind, such steady flow of wind that it just keeps it stirred up.
Okay. Now I see Donald's comment. I might have to agree. You might have to get a canopy for the kayak because he says there's snook in North Carolina. And I'm only joking with you. I've heard all kinds of weird stuff, but I
It-
haven't. I
it-
haven't heard that.
it's funny, and now I got it. And see, now I'm not getting a lot of his stuff.
Uh, um, Captain Anthony's on. How you doing, Anthony?
I see
Appreciate you
Anthony and
tuning in.
Manuel.
But I'll have to look that up, Donald. Snook in North Carolina. See, and
I
that.
don't know about that.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's say some made it up there. If it gets cold, they're just going to die.
Yeah, that
But
ain't going to happen.
um, yeah, that's pretty far up there. But look, we had bonefish at Anclote Power Plant
Well, yeah, but
about
you got hot water, warm
right
water.
about 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, good. Thank you for the link, Donald. I got to read about that one.
Yeah.
That's not one of them April Fool's article, is it? You know, I had my. This is funny. I had my uncle. He sent me a text about this gigantic trout. Right? He goes, "Oh man,
Oh
look at this."
yeah, I saw that picture.
Yeah,
It was circulating around.
yeah. So he sent me that. I had to text him back. I said, "Yeah," I said, "That's an April Fool's picture." But yeah, I'll definitely check it out, Donald. When I get a chance, I'll read that one.
Did he send you a link? See, I don't
Yeah,
see it on mine.
you'll see it.
The last thing I see from him is says Donald and there's Snook
Copy
and
link. Here, hold on. Let me see if
I don't know
1
why.
second. Here, see if you see it. Oh, what happened?
No,
There. Hold on. There. Did you get my link? I copied and pasted it.
no, I don't.
You
No,
see my comment?
I,
No.
no,
So you don't see my comment either?
no, no. The last thing I see is Captain Anthony and then Donald with about their Snook up there, and that's it.
Just try hitting refresh. Maybe that'll get you.
For some reason, that's the last thing I'm showing.
I'll tell you one of the fun things that's happening right now is I've come across 3 schools of jacks now. I was in a canal and we were catching some trout and this huge school of 10 to 15 pound jacks came through and I was blown away. I cast it for the client. The bait landed just in front of him, like right in the middle, and nothing, not even a hit or anything.
Isn't that strange?
Yep. The next day, I was at Whedon and some 10 pounders, a good school of them. I grabbed the chum bat. I threw a whole bunch of chum in the water. Oh, they went nuts. All we had to do was cast into it and it was on. Let's see.
No, I'm not getting. I'm not getting anything.
Huh.
The last thing I got was this Donald said there's Snook in North Carolina, and nothing else showed up on my screen. So I don't know. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now it showed up. I see yours, and then it says it's a scientific report.
Now we just got to make sure it's not a scientific April Fool's joke.
Yeah, that's right. But you remember, years ago, about 20 years ago, Florida Sportsman ran an ad for a fish stretcher. Said
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
would stretch a fish up to 3 inches.
Right.
And man, some people called in complaining that you shouldn't be doing that. And then a bunch of them wanted to buy it.
Right. Now, Manuel says you can find bonefish at Egmont Key on the southwest side. Yeah, but it's not consistent. They've caught them there before, but it's just far and few between. It's not.
Oh, it's like,
it's a rarity.
I remember one year I was out of Tarpon Springs grouper fishing. We're only about 20 something miles offshore. And we sat there and watched like 6 sailfish come
Yep.
jumping out of the water for about 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
It was 4 of us fishing this big rock pile out there. And these sailfish were just out there, just jumping around, just having a ball about 20 miles from Tarpon Springs. So,
Egmont Channel. Egmont Channel is good for sailfish.
Yeah. So I
Every
mean,
once in a while.
it can happen, and I'm sure because that water's warm coming out of that power plant. You know, you get a few in there. Look what happened to lionfish. People just started dumping them, getting rid of them out of the aquarium, and now they reproduce like crazy.
Yeah, that's a shame with the lionfish. You know.
I mean, that can happen. I can understand that.
Let's see. Well, you know, anything can happen. In the intercoastal, up in Largo, I don't know, maybe about 7 years ago, there was a tuna. It was definitely sick. There was something wrong with it, but there was a tuna. There was a mullet fisherman that was going from bridge to bridge and, you know, following the school of mullet and throwing off the bridge. Well, he seen this tuna. He spotted it. He went to the next bridge. He actually cast netted the thing.
Well, you know, like I said,
In the intercoastal.
anything can happen at
Oh,
any
yeah.
time. You know, but
Whales.
I know that over the years they've caught a few bonefish, and you know, and
Yeah.
just they migrate up. Well, it's like snook going all the way up the Crystal River. I mean,
Sure.
years ago there was no snook up there,
Right.
and now they're up there. But couple of good cold snaps. You know, unless they get into those springs, they're going to get hurt.
Now, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, there was 2 bonefish caught at Picnic Island.
Picnic Island?
Picnic Island on shrimp.
Wow.
You know, so anything's possible. You know, anything's possible. I was up by St. Pete Pier on the flats where they just drop off. I was fishing the edge of the flats with my clients, and what do we see? 5 permit just cruising the edge of the flat right on the drop off, and I threw everything I had at them, and just they didn't want to bite, and we just watched them real slowly swim down into the deep and disappear.
Wow.
But I mean, that's at the pier, north of the pier.
Well, you know, when I was growing up as a kid with my uncle, we used to catch right there at Port Tampa, right at the entrance. You went in about 20, 30 feet, the second set of bumpers in there. We used to get Goliath grouper up to 100 pounds.
Sure.
We used to get big grouper. I mean, 20, 25-pound grouper out of there.
Right.
We used to catch loads of tarpon, about 30 to 60-pound tarpon in that channel.
Right.
And the biggest mango snapper you ever want to see came out of that ship, that little docking area.
Well, way back when, like you're saying, when you were allowed to actually go in there and fish, if you dropped down a big bait, there was the biggest snook ever down in the bottom over there. But good luck getting them out. There was so much.
If you can remember, back in those days, there were soapfish. In the 60s, we used to snatch them off the railing at the Hillsborough River by the Bourne Street Bridge. And in December and January, that warm water used to be a power plant there.
Right.
And man, we would snatch these 40-inch, 45-inch snook, and there was nothing. You brought them in, let them go, and they would die, but who cared? They were soapfish.
Yeah, back then, yep. Till they figured out, wow, if you take the skin off, they're good.
Not too bad. That's right. Well, listen, let's say we got, you want to get Tony Franklin in?
Yeah, let's do Tony since he's always first on the board.
Hi, this is Captain Tony Franklin back once again with this week's fishing report. Well, as weeks pass, the trout bite still seems to be what's leading the pack so far, although we've caught a different variety of species this week, had quite a bit of great action on different types of fishing situations. The outgoing tide has worked really well. The strong incoming tide has worked really well. And as we talked about before, the slack tide, the bite was the slowest during the slack tide as it normally is a lot of the times. The trout bite been fantastic in about 6 feet of water, just like it has been in the last month and a half. This week we've also caught some Spanish mackerel. We had action with ladyfish, once again, bonnethead sharks. We actually caught inshore this week. We actually caught a small barracuda. We also caught a small tarpon, So we've caught a few small tarpon this week, barracuda. The action has just been really fantastic. We've caught a couple of redfish. The snook bite's been a little bit slow. We have hooked a few. We've had a couple of big ones on, but we've lost them. But we have had some bites. As this water continues to warm up, look for that snook bite to pick up. There's still bait around the Bay Area bridges, and it should be coming on the grass flat soon. So the fishing's been fantastic. The weather's been perfect. So it's time to get out on the water and go fishing. That's my report for this week. I'll definitely see you next week. Tight lines. I'll see you soon.
Nice report. And
George, I got to bring you up to date. On the 28th, we're going to have a guest on the show. And this is Captain Mike, and he's also, I guess, an ER doctor. And he came out with a dehooker.
oh yeah, I've
For
seen
humans.
that guy. Yeah, I've seen that guy actually. Yeah,
Now, let me tell you, we got some videos we're going to show the people when he's here.
right.
This, you got to have
Well,
guts. He
yeah.
actually took a mirror lure on his arm.
I know. I've
He
seen
stuck
that.
all 3 treble hooks on his arm. Then he stuck a fly on his foot.
Yeah,
And he shows you how he gets them out so easy with this tool and doesn't even doesn't tear
Right.
you. So don't miss the 28th show, because we're
Right.
going to have him on and we're going to show you some of the video. And this is something that everybody should have one on the boat.
Yeah.
Everybody.
I think I would have bought a rubber arm to show how to do it instead of my
No,
own
he
arm.
used his actual arm.
Oh, I know. I seen the video actually, and
Oh,
I
man.
cringed watching him put the hook in. I was like, oh goodness.
But I guess, hey, if that's what you want to do. So it's
Right.
going to be, and then we're working on also on bringing in, I'm waiting to hear back from Travis from Strikeline Maps,
Shark-
because we
yeah.
haven't had them in about 2.5, 3 years, and they made a lot of changes,
Right.
especially
So-
for the people who want to fish for snapper and grouper and all that in Tampa Bay. The Strikeline has a real good imaging for the ship's channel area.
Right.
you know,
Are we
so-
getting them? Are they coming on the show?
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear back from Travis when he can make it, and then like I said, on the 28th, I know we got Mike coming on board for the dehooker. So we try to get back on some kind of a schedule now that Holta's back.
Right.
And I'm still. Are you getting any more people? I'm still.
I got Tony put his peeps on some nice fish. Did you see Bucky Goldman's bass?
No.
Yeah, I did. It'll be on when we play Bucky's. It'll show.
Okay.
It'll show.
Okay, okay, there you go. It says red tide push to Snook North. Okay, Donald put his peeps on some nice fish. Did you see Bucky Goldman's bass?
Yeah, we did. It'll be on his fishing report when we play it.
Yeah. So
But I tell you what, talking about the red tide, that's how the bonefish years ago ended up at Anclote Power Plant, is because they kept trying to stay ahead of the red tide as it moved north. Then when it started to cool off, the power plant water drew them in.
they kind of
then-
stayed there.
They were there. I think there was, because the scientists went over there. I think it was a school of like 15 is what they counted, I guess. So that was
And then
pretty
they
neat.
just stayed there and they start to multiply little by little.
Yeah. And then I think they ended up probably moving south once it warmed up again. But-
That's
It'd be-
so many things are possible. I mean,
Oh yeah.
remember George Jonah about 4 or 5 years ago got
Yeah.
that big kingfish right there at the humps. I mean,
Yep.
real close to Picnic Island.
Oh yeah, that was a
I mean,
nice one too.
A real, I mean, we've caught him there before, but that was a big one that he
Yeah,
caught.
that was a real big one. And Port Manatee has put out more winning kingfish for these kingfish tournaments when it's real windy and nasty out. They go troll over by Port Manatee and they get some big kingfish. And I've caught some really huge mackerel over there to where I thought I had a kingfish on and ended up being a mackerel.
So I mean, anything's possible. It's just over the years, the transition, so many things
Yes.
it's been going on. The other
Well-
thing that's got me worried is the population growth that we're having in Florida,
Yeah.
especially our market area, the Tampa
Yeah.
Bay area.
that's funny you mentioned that because I was kind of thinking about that the other day with the amount of boats I'm seeing out on the water. The last month and a half, I've been really busy with charters. I've been on the water almost every day, and during the middle of the week,
You
the
see a whole
amount
bunch of boats.
the amount of boats that are out there is just unbelievable. And I think that also can contribute to why the fishing's getting tougher. You
Yeah.
know, half the spots that you're going to may have already been fished 3 times in that morning.
Yeah, because the most common spots everybody knows about.
And because, like, let's just say Weed-Nylon, for example, even if you try to go to a new area of Weed-Nylon, there's so many boats out there. And let's say it's somebody that doesn't know much about Weed-Nylon, they're going to just keep fishing all that shoreline. So it's already been hit already.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
In the last 3 years, I've seen it change so much. Where you used to go there during the middle of the week, and you'll find a captain over here, a captain
Yeah.
way down there,
Partially.
maybe, and
Partially.
and 1 or 2 regular guys there. And now you go and all the popular spots, boom, there's 3 or 4 boats there already.
Yeah.
So
Um,
that's got to have an effect on the fishing because those fish are getting hammered. And after a while, like you say, you might get there and think, oh, well, there's nobody here. But maybe there was already 3 other guys here
Right.
before you,
right.
and they
Well,
hammered those fish
like,
and they're spooked.
yep. Like yesterday, I took this guy out fishing and his buddy, and I knew from the conversation that he wanted to be able to fish spots that we were going to. So I had to be careful with what I did with that. But of
Yeah.
course, I always want people to catch fish. So today, one of the hot spots that we went to yesterday, as I'm coming back from catching bait, I look, there he is with his boat sitting on the spot.
Wow.
One day later, I was like, and I called him. I said, "Hey, is that you over there?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah. Well, but we've been fishing for 45 minutes and we haven't caught anything." Well, he didn't have the right bait, and then the lures he was throwing were different colors than what we were using. So it's like, just because you know the spot, don't mean you're going to catch them like we did.
That's right. Sometimes that spot could be only good during an incoming, the beginning of an incoming, or the end of an outgoing. I mean, you never
That
know.
It's that, and then like I'm saying, he's throwing 2 different colors of lures that we weren't throwing. He didn't have the same bait, so you're already doing too many things differently. Let's see.
And why don't we get?
Want to do Buc-ee's?
Yeah, let's get Bucky so we can look at that bass.
bass. Yeah, that's a nice
let's do
bass.
that.
Good morning, Captain Bucky Goldman, Bag and Fishing Charters, Tampa, Florida Fishing Guide.com. So, sorry, I'm doing my report on the run. I'm currently going to the marina because my trim is not working. I've had a law of threes, so my Garmin touchscreen went out and I had to get that replaced. I got that back, and then my jack plate stopped working, and then my trim went out. So at least my jack plate's trimmed halfway up, and I probably have about 9-10 inches of clearance underneath my motor. So, but it went out in the middle of a trip the other day, and it was super low tide, so it made fishing really tough. And we caught some nice trout. It's a slam event. Got a 21-inch trout after an 18, and then I bounced all around to deeper spots, and nothing was happening. And then finally, the tide came in. I hit one spot, and we caught about 6 or 7 snook, and same thing with redfish. What was cool, there was a bunch of big rays swimming around, and I'm like, man, it's April. There's big rays swimming all over the place. Probably be some cobia on these rays, and sure enough, here comes a cobia on one of the rays, probably about 30 inches, 28 to 30. Throw a bait, eats it. It's peeling line. I hand it to a guy, it comes off. Then it goes right back to the ray. I throw another bait, he eats it. I hand it to the guy. I said, flip the bail. Flips the bail, comes tight, drops it again. I'm like, oh, but it might be something to go look around. I mean, I know you guys used to talk about call breath as being a good flat for those cobia back in the day, but maybe, they'll start coming back. Who knows? But that was kind of cool. The bait's been absolutely ridiculous. It's been 1 or 2 throws where I've been going, maybe 3. mostly 90% scaled sardines. So I've been like just packing my wells full, and then I sit there for a little bit and waiting on clients and pick out all the thread fins. Like, I got time to kill, so bait's been really good. It's been windy and it's been kind of tough to fish. I'm starting to see a little bit more mullet showing up, so that's good. I haven't been able to get to some of the places I wanted to fish, but the redfish bite's picking up. The snook bite is definitely picking up. There's not as many snook as I'd like there to be, but I did see some good snook the other day. They just weren't ready to eat anything. I mean, I would chum and they would hit some chummers, and then you throw a line out. I went down to 20-pound test and they still wouldn't eat it. Mostly I've been throwing 25 to 30-pound test leader right now. Once that water gets a little murkier, I'll probably just stay with 30 as the snook bite picks up. Using 3/0 circle hooks. It's been pretty good fishing as far as like coming out of this spring. I mean, we had really cold, and I think these fish were just buggered up. I kind of feel like everything's delayed like 2-3 weeks just because of that weird weather we had. Even the bass, my buddy Rick Kimball came over to fish my pond, and we were walking around, and I caught an 8-pound 11-ounce bass the other day, and then we were walking kind of on the same stretch, and here comes a bass. I'm like, Rick, come here quick, here's a big bass. And he pitches his little Texas rig red shad culprit worm and sticks it, and it was 8 pounds 0.23 ounces, so 8 1/4 pound fish. Real nice bass. There's a picture of that on there. But sooner than later, we're going to have more consistent high tides, and we're also coming off this full moon. So, fishing's good, you know. There's a lot of trout around, some big ones. We got a 24-inch trout the other day. Been catching a lot of 16 to 18, 19-inch trout. The redfish did get a couple 30-inchers recently. Most of them have been in the lower to middle slot range, a few peaking at the top. But it's been so inconsistent with the tides and stuff, and I don't get that opportunity to fish those high tides in the afternoon. So I'm looking forward to getting out there. I was just surprised with how easy it is to bait the other day, that I caught bait in 3 throws, and then I sat around and watched 25, 30 boats pull up to the bait barge that were all fishing the corporate event and just bought bait. Like, I don't get it. Like, if it's a 6-hour trip, that's a lot of bait you got to buy to get through, unless you're just barely throwing anything. And out of the 41 boats, I believe only, I was told 7 or 8 boats actually caught slams. I was one of them. I think 76 won it, maybe, and I was somewhere around 73, 74. I don't even know. We might have been 2nd or 3rd place. I don't know. I was out of there. There's no docks around Hula Bay to hang out anyway, so. But, yeah, I'm trying to get my boat fixed because I'll be on the water in the next 3 days, and I need this trim fixed, and I got 4 out of the next 5 days to go fishing, so hopefully this trend continues, and I'm just praying for some more grass growth. I have yet to really get out on the flats and see if anything's going to start really growing this summer. Hopefully it is. I'm literally crossing over the bridge right now, and you can see it is slicked out in Upper Tampa Bay. Look at that. It is just glass calm. I wish I was out there right now, but gotta do what you gotta do. Thank you. Bye.
All right.
All right. That was good, Bucky.
That was a healthy bass that Rick caught, man. That thing was something else.
That was really nice.
That was a really, really good bass. But yeah, that's like tournament day. I got a spot that I've been getting bait at, and it's about 12, 13 feet of water. Tournament day was great. 1 throw, I was done. The live well was filled up. I went back there the very next day for my charter. They were gone.
But did somebody tell you that they have tails?
It's terrible. I got to cut them tails off.
They just swim away. Yeah, I'm looking forward when they get into the flats. I don't like to be throwing in the deep water, but as soon as they move in the flats, I'll start catching them.
Yeah,
you know?
They're in the flats, but well, at least the ones I'm checking, they're in the flats, but not thick, not like you want them.
No.
I gotta go check probably gonna run around on Wednesday morning. I'm gonna catch my bait, and then I'm gonna go like I did today. After I catch bait, go check some other flats. I ran south today after catching bait and didn't find nothing down that way. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if I would have went far enough south, getting closer to the Skyway Bridge, those flats down there,
They
I
usually-
guarantee you they'll have bait on them. But I don't want to run that far.
Right. Right. Well, you know, especially when it's windy. If it was
Oh, yeah.
calm, it's okay.
Yeah.
But even then, you're burning all that extra fuel.
Yeah.
But if it's windy, it makes it tough to get down that
Now-
far. You know,
Now, how many more reports? I know we got mine.
we got Michael Dawson,
Okay.
and then we got yours. So let's get Michael Dawson's in.
Hi guys, Captain Michael Dawson, your Patriot Guide Service, finishing up the bait grind today and getting ready to do some offshore fishing. Kingfish have really fired off in our area in the last week. Water temperature is perfect. Check out the hard bomb in that 20 to 30 foot of water range, all the way out to 40. Not very many fish deeper than that right now, but lots of nice fish be out there to be caught right now. 15 to 20 pound fish, a lot of 30s mixed in. There's a lot of fun and a lot of good kingfish smoke dip. Troll big white bait on a stinger rig or a long shank J hook has been doing the trick. I like a long shank J hook with 50 pound fluorocarbon leader. You might get bit off a few more times than wire, but you'll get 10 times the hits. Inshore trout, redfish, snook, you ask for it, it's around everywhere. A little bit of any fish you can imagine right now. Cobia are showing up great on the flats. It's a great time of year to be out here. These cold fronts are kind of messing up the bait situation every morning, so it's moving a little bit every morning. But once you find it, it is absolutely great. This morning I had to run all the way down to Clearwater to get bait, so that part sucked a little bit. But it should be back on the Howard flat here soon, the power plant flat. It should be back as soon as this water warms back up. Sitting at 69.5 right now, so it definitely cooled down quite a bit. But fishing is going to fire off here. It's going to keep getting warmer, keep getting better, and it should be a great time. Captain Michael Dawson, Patriotic Guide Service.
All right. Nice report. Dean, I mean-
George, what's Donald talking about the county commissioners that are signing off on this need to switch?
Oh, if you back up, he said he went behind Weed Island, the power plant, and saw the seawalls and condos, the new condos that
Oh
are being
yeah.
built over there. So he's ticked off about that and saying the commissioners that are signing off on this need a swift kick in the butt.
That used
Yeah.
to be, remember, that was set up about
Trailer,
40 years ago. They were going to build all this little subdivision in there.
right?
The light posts were up, the streets were up, and then nothing ever happened.
Yep. And then I'm glad I didn't. Years ago, I was gonna buy just a trailer back in there just to have a little property on the water, and they ended up kicking everybody out of there because whoever the big builder was came in and bought the land, and then that's when I don't know what happened. The economy went to poo poo, and then it just sat there empty. They kicked everybody out, and they did nothing with the land at all. So now I guess somebody came in with money and started building.
Because I was back in there about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, and I noticed that all this construction, the seawall, but I remember for years you would go back in there and you could see the streets and the grass overgrown and they're actually
Yeah.
light posts, like
Yep.
they were getting ready to build something. And this goes back 25, 30 years. You know,
I'll tell you what, right now on the water, I've never seen so much construction going on than I have this year.
oh, you look at
Yeah.
Venetian Isles. There's hardly no
So much.
old homes left anymore. They're all getting bought up, tore
Yep.
down, and these 2-story mansions being put up.
Oh yeah, I seen one. I'll tell you what, in a hurricane, I want to be in this house. It's a monster house. It's gigantic. But when they built it like a skyscraper. Everything is steel girders,
Wow.
welded and bolted, and then they concreted over the top of it.
Wow.
That house is going nowhere. I don't know what that guy spent to have that built like that, but that's a solid house. Of course, if he gets flooded, it don't matter,
It don't matter. you got water in it.
right?
You know, because there's one around south of there, around the corner, that, man, they must have bought like 4 houses. They have that whole corner, and this is a huge house. Then he's got almost like an empty lot on each side of him. That's part of his property.
Huh.
So he bought at least 3 to 4 homes to be able
Yeah.
to put that on the point there.
Well, that's like this one guy. I don't know who he is, but he's a rich guy. One of the clients I took out knew about him, And he said, yeah, he's kind of a jerk. I said, well, to amass that kind of money, sometimes you got to be like that. But
Got to be a jerk to make that kind of money.
yeah, and now he bought the house next door to his mansion. I mean, this thing's a huge mansion. It's gigantic. Um, he bought the house next door so that when people come down to visit him, they stay in the house next door.
You don't want him in his house.
I guess not. I'm thinking, wow, you got this big mansion. You can't give a room or two up for your company.
He probably just his wife says, "Hey, now your friends can stay next door. They can walk over for dinner or for a drink."
Donald says the hurricane did some damage to the grass. There's a lot of areas where it's really bare.
Donald, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not just the hurricane. It's the
sea
manatees too, brother.
The sea cows.
Those sea cows are eating up our grass, man.
Yep.
They go into an area, and when they leave it, it's barren. Yet you can plant all the seagrass you want, but you know.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of manatee back there by Hula Bay that, I mean, there's at least 15 or 20 of them, easy. So they got to eat grass. So where do you think they're going to get it from?
Those Hula Bay flats, they're going to
Yep.
wipe them out.
Yep. And they're protected, so there's not really anything you can do about it, but they wipe the grass out, it's going to wipe the bait out, it's going to wipe the fish out.
And did you ever hear anything about the people about Desperation Island?
No, I have to go a different route because I spoke with the lady from Salt Strong again because she's connected with the DOT. But she is so busy with the oyster thing right now. I think that's top priority for her. So I need to contact Tampa Bay Watch again because they kind of dropped the ball on me, but they said they were interested in it. So I'm going to contact them again, maybe tomorrow, because just the boat traffic alone that goes in there now is wrecking it.
And that's Peter that's running it, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think
I'm not sure now.
It was Peter. I'll find
Because
out.
I spoke with the lady. I can't remember her name. I got it written down.
Yeah, because I tell you, if we don't do something, I was looking at it the other day. Oh my God. Some of those other
not gonna
trees,
be there.
they're already on, their roots are out of the water, the
Right.
trees are falling down. And if we don't do something in 2 or 3 years, it's nothing going to be but a little tiny lime rock place.
Yeah.
And all that good fishing and everything else is all going to be gone.
Yep. Because, the backside of that, you've got that nice deep hole right there. Well, that's going to go away if it gets wiped out.
But it is, you got so much boat traffic with the marina and everything.
And they're big.
And then the wind, when it comes from the west, there's nothing to protect it. I mean, on the east side, you got all the houses and everything
Right.
that kind of protects that area.
Or a lot of times when we get that southwest wind, it's coming up that long stretch, and that island's getting hammered.
Oh, it is. We
Donald
need to
says
do something.
Donald says sea cow season.
So, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. The other thing that's becoming a nuisance, really bad, worse than ever, is the cormorant. I got 2 different things to tell you about with them. Yesterday morning, I'm chumming the flats, and wasn't seeing anything, and then all of a sudden, in my chum slick, about 60 feet away, I start seeing some dimpling, and they're coming up my chum slick. So I was getting happy because I knew once I got to the boat, 1 or 2 throws, I'd be good. 30 cormorant, and I'm not exaggerating, like 30 cormorant came flying in because they seen it and just hammered it, and it never made it to my boat.
Wow.
So they wrecked it. The other thing was, I was out by the humps. This is a week and a half ago, we were catching some trout. The cormorant are now attacking the trout on the line, ripping it off and eating it.
Does that mean that they don't have enough food like they used to?
No, there's plenty of pinfish. There's plenty of pinfish down there if they want to do that. They're just getting aggressive to let me go eat a big fish, one shot. But,
Right.
I mean, I had 2 of them get ripped off my client's hook and watch the cormorant eat them. They're coming up behind it. They're so fast, and they're coming up right behind it, grabbing the tail, getting a good grip on it, ripping it off the hook, and then you see him tilt his head back and he swallow this thing. And I talked to
Go ahead.
Captain Garrett, and he was fishing the other side of the bay. over by Cockroach,
Uh-huh.
had the same thing happening to him there. And somebody else told me up by Gandy they're having the same problem there. And the one day I was at Whedon and I had to leave where I was fishing because you could not cast a bait in the water without a cormorant going and getting it. And we never had that problem like that.
No, never, never. You used to see one or two once in a while, and they never bothered you. They would sometimes go after some of your chum, maybe,
Right.
but no,
My-
it's like the porpoises now. I mean, they've gotten where
Right.
they'll eat anything you throw back in the water.
One of my clients, he goes back home every once in a while to Vermont to visit. He said back when he was younger, the cormorants got so bad, and like this one island, it killed all the shrubbery, like all the poop that was on it. Somehow the acids or whatever, because it got so bad, all the like, I don't know if it was mangroves up there or what they have up there, but whatever shrubbery, it died, killed the island basically. Now, back then, they were allowed to do what they call oiling the eggs so they won't hatch.
Wow.
But we better run my report. We're
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
close.
yeah, I was going to say that. All right.
Uh-oh, did we lose our producer?
Oh, Hota fell asleep on the.
Oh, no.
Hey guys, this is Captain George Hastig of Fish Hunter Fishing Charters coming to you from St. Petersburg, Florida. Well, hopefully we're through with these cold fronts. We had a cold front that came through. Definitely Saturday and Sunday morning were a lot colder than what we've been having. So hopefully that deck shuffle is done with now and we're on our way out of it. And we're going to get more consistent weather. And right now, the sheep's head have definitely thinned out. A lot of the big ones have moved back, probably out offshore. A lot of your docks are still holding some sheep's head. Some of the rock piles are still holding some sheep's head, but the size is diminished and the quantity is definitely diminished. They're still eating shrimp and filler crabs, but right now the snook and redfish, if you're targeting them, they've been more underneath the mangroves. I'm really having to cast under the mangroves. You can use cut bait, cut ladyfish, cut threadfin, cut pinfish. Those will all work. Your live scaled sardines, if you spray those into the trees, let those baits fall, further back. When they come running out, they'll actually help draw some of those fish out from deep under the mangroves. And that's a good tactic. It works. It gets, especially if you're not good at casting under the mangroves, that'll help you to where you can just cast to the front edge of the mangroves and still be able to catch some of those fish. The trout, varied places, but I'd say the average is 5 to 6 feet of water right now. I'm getting them still on the chicken on the chain on a 1/4 ounce jig head. I'm also getting them on, we actually ran with some shrimp today, so I'm getting them on shrimp and white bait. So all of those are working. Gold spoon, that's another thing that's definitely been working pretty good. I've been running with a gold spoon on one rod, the chicken on a chain on another rod, and then 4 poles for live and or cut bait. And today was nice. We ended up going to some rock piles. One of them was in 15, 16 feet of water. We had Key West grunts, sheep's head, and mangrove snapper. So it was a nice mix. And they were eating white bait and shrimp. And it was a nice little bite. Another rock pile was in about 8 feet of water. It was actually holding speckled trout, mangrove snapper, and mackerel. There's definitely more mackerel moving up into the bay. I think this little snap for the day maybe slowed that down a little bit, but the water temperature is still 78 degrees, so the mackerel bite should only keep getting stronger. And they're running pretty good. They're running anywhere from 18 to 24, 25 inches. So we've got some decent sized mackerel moving in. The gold spoon has been dynamite on that. If you're getting cut off on your gold spoon, take about maybe 6 inches of number 3 wire and put it on there with a swivel, and that'll solve that problem for you. The other thing out there, while you're catching them, we're still getting some trout, But I have noticed in a lot of the areas, the trout size has gone down a little bit compared to what we were getting, but they're definitely still around. So, you just have to kind of prod around, try different areas. If you're getting a bunch of smaller ones, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes if you're getting a bunch of smaller ones, you can move a little bit shallower, and sometimes you'll find some larger trout that way. All right, this has been Captain George Hassick. Have a good day.
All right, George.
It didn't show up real good in the picture because the banner was in the way. But the one guy's redfish, it was a keeper red. It wasn't real big. I think it was like a 20-inch red. But the thing that was cool about it was the one side had 14 spots. The other side had 9 spots. So that one red had 23 spots, and that guy's birthday is on the 23rd.
Huh.
So that was kind of neat. He got a 23 for his birthday. And then the guy with the blue visor on that was holding that nice size snook. That was from the tournament 2 Fridays ago that we ended up taking first place on that, and that was the snook that kind of helped out.
Those were nice jacks.
Oh yeah, yep. But it was sweet. I dropped them off because the Hula Bay dock. Unfortunately, you can't go up to do.
Are they up yet?
No, it's just got one dock, so you got to drop your clients off. You can't go up with them anymore.
What dock are there? Is just the first original
First
dock,
dock, right?
the one with the ramp?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah,
the
that
only one
one.
they have?
Yes.
Because remember that ramp was not even on there.
No, the ramp's there, and it's just that first dock, so you can't go up to the banquet with the people anymore. So, like an hour went past, and the lady texted me. She goes, "Hey, we might win this thing." I'm like, "All right, well, let me know." And I was upset because we lost a really big redfish, and I thought that might have cost the tournament for us. And then about an hour later, she called up and said, "Hey, we won," and they all got like Yeti coolers and stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, because they kept telling my people for May that, oh no, all the docks are going to be up. Don't worry, all the docks are going to be up, and I don't hear that. I don't see how they can do it in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. They can put all the rest of those docks up.
I don't know.
So what you do now is just what? Just a couple of boats can come in there and leave them, and
You could put like 6 to 8 boats, I think, there. So yeah, we were just dropping the clients off and then taking, like most of us were just dropping the clients off and taking off. So that's why I just told her. I said, well, just call me and text me and let me know how we did. And it was really cool to hear that we took first place on that one.
well, that's good. But now, what are you looking at this week? We're looking at another cold front coming in.
It's not, you
That
got
bad.
one morning that's going to be a little colder, but then even that day on that little bit colder
Get up.
morning, it's still doing like 80 something degrees.
I know.
And then the rest of the week's all 80s, like high numbers the rest of the week. Let's see. What we got here?
What do you,
So yeah, you got Thursday morning is going to be breezy and start off at 60 degrees, but it's going to get all the way up to 85. The day before starts at 65 and only gets to 82, but still 82. And then the rest of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, is 86, 87 degrees the rest of the time.
so hopefully we'll get back on some kind of a normal type schedule.
Right.
Now, and then I saw something on Facebook yesterday, I think it was. Somebody was saying that they're thinking, or they know something, that it looks like the Skyway Pier is going to be closed pretty soon.
I don't know.
Because it's deteriorating pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I think those bird people have an influence. I'll tell you that right now. They've been pushing and pushing to try and get that thing closed. So.
You know what I don't see. This is like that one movie I saw years and years ago. This is the tail waggling the dog.
Yes.
You
Yep.
got a little majority
Yep.
making the majority do what they want. You know,
So
it's
think-
about time people just
Right.
stood up and fought for what you
So-
want.
So
Yeah,
think about
everybody,
this.
oh yeah, but nobody
Yeah,
wants to fight except that little group. There are people like that, I think, there's got to be somewhere but you don't just shut down the whole thing.
Right.
That's not
So-
the right way of doing it.
Yeah. So think about this. The state's been getting the pressure from the little bird group constantly for years now. So what's the workaround so they don't get chewed out for shutting the pier? Oh, the pier is no longer safe. We have to
There
shut
you
it.
go. That's it. That takes care of it. See? I'm
Well, we are out of time.
Yep, we are. But we want to thank everybody. Remember, you know, we're going to try to get a guest in at least every other week. But on the 28th, you got to see this because if you're an angler, you like to fish, you always try to use a D-hooker on the fish. Well, this is a D-hooker for you that you're
Right.
going to love.
Right.
And
Well, I guess-
God bless everybody. And don't forget, if you got anybody with kids, they need to get a hold of me. I still got some open spots for June the 7th to give, you know, we're going to be giving the kids a nice rod and reel, their tackle, everything else. And we're going to feed everybody at Picnic Island on June 7th. So we're looking forward to having at least 125 kids and their parents there.
Right. Right.
All right. And George,
All right.
you be careful. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, buddy.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
God
night,
bless.
everybody. Thank you.